What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Save the Date. I'm one of your hosts, Heath.
What's good, everybody? This is your other host, Jamie O, and today we're talking about communication.
Yeah, good communication is sexy. That's the title of this episode. And boy,
Can it be? Ooh, talk to me nice. Talk to me nice.
oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, I think communication is largely ignored when people think about sexiness or creating a deeper connection with somebody, even just attraction.
You think
That
so?
raw primal. I think it's ignored
Hmm.
because I think communication is conceived of in a lecture format. I'm just dropping that super game on you. I'm just coming in that unidirectional format, letting you know what I'm about. Remember that Busta Rhymes skit before? Give me some more. I got Donald Trump doing my taxes. Michael Jordan does my laundry. I got accountants who do accountants who watch other accountants who do my books. I just think a lot of guys in general, when we talk about game, think it's that kind of bravado and peacocking to attract a woman. And I think some women may miss out on the opportunities of providing good listening to men, how men just want to feel psychologically safe with their women. So this is about, yes, the primal kind of connection that you can have with another individual, but it's also about sexiness can be sustained outside of those initial moments, outside of those, first impressions. We watch a lot of these shows, we watch a lot of movies, people click, and the next thing you know, they're tearing each other's clothes off in an animalistic fashion, having some of the most erratic, greatest sex in the history of their lives. And then the next day they have to, be there and, be square. And I think when we talk about good communication is sexy, good communication allows you to maintain that primal animalistic connection. It may not always be as heightened as what you see in the movies. You'll have those peak experiences, but over the long haul, you'll be able to keep that energy flowing, keep that energy stoked, keep that fire burning.
Yeah.
So I think when we talk about the good communication, the first thing I'm going to go at, and I want you to hop in right after me, is honesty. Good communication is founded based on honesty. You have to be honest. And when we say honest, it doesn't mean you just vomit out everything that's ever occurred or happened in your life, but that you find opportunities to always be aware of what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and being able to communicate that in two ways. One, a way that's true to who you are. B, in a way that preserves the other person's dignity. So again, being honest in a way that's true to who you are and what you're thinking, and B, in a way that preserves your dignity, preserves the other person's dignity.
Well, that's a perfect segue to what I would have followed up with, which is, cultivating self-awareness. Like, if you're going to be honest, you got to know what your needs and emotions and triggers are, and you got to, be able to communicate that honestly and in an authentic way to the person you're trying to connect with.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times that's ignored, the level of self-awareness that's needed to really be an honest and sincere communicator. To your point, I think I would say on the men's side, you definitely see a lot of dudes who try to spit that super game.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is, like you said, is peacocking. But what I don't think they realize is peacocking is a game for men among men. Women don't look at guys
Yeah.
peacocking.
Yeah.
You know what
They
I'm
don't.
saying?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you're going to be able to talk to the opposite sex, you got to know how to talk. And super game is really, I think, just another word or phrase for understanding how to speak a woman's language.
I agree.
And I think for us, I would say, for a lot of men, words of affirmation is their primary love language.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
if you are learning how to communicate and trying to make it sexy, talk to them nice.
Yeah. Yeah. I just saw this clip from Cuba Gooding Jr.'s younger brother where he said the power of a woman's encouragement. He talked about his mom and how his mom was talking to Chris Carter. I don't know if you remember him. He was an
Wait, the
actor.
football player?
No. He was an actor. He was like a very bit actor. He was in Different World. He was in season 3 of Different World. He played Calvin. Sinbad was trying to recruit to Hillman to play ball the next year. And he's talking to his mom. She walks over and is like, yo, this young dude just tried to get on me. Man, she's looking at him have you beat his ass. And he's like, mind you, I'm in my teens. This kid's already in his 20s. He's trying to, mac on my mom. My mom comes over to me and says, he's looking at have you beat his ass. And he's like, at first I was like, but mom, I'm thinking to myself,
He's
but it
older
hit
than
me
me
like, no, she believes in me to put my hands on this dude
and
to
protect
protect
her.
her honor.
Yeah.
He says another time they were walking out somewhere in a parking lot. It was dark, and someone had made a remark. Oh, it's dark out there. She's like, don't worry, I got my son with me. I'm good. Let's go.
Wow.
And just the confidence that gave him and believing in himself. in that moment of, no, my mom believes in me, I can do it. Yo, I can do it. You start getting your head up, back, shoulders go back.
Mm-hmm.
People don't realize, some people call it the placebo effect in medical studies, but that power of believing. I mean, in Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief, he had worked in the Caribbean with medical students, and they had run tests where you told people like you typically do well on tests like these medical exams. Those people would do well. The people who got the preface, typically people like you don't do well on these exams. They did bad. I think
Mm-hmm.
they've done that with SAT
Yeah.
scores with black kids, where
Mm-hmm.
they tell a group of black kids, oh, people like black kids like you always do well, and they get X amount of points higher. Black kids like you don't. And so this idea of what you believe about yourself actually determines your performance. And also the kind of social environment that you're in helps probably to determine your performance and what you're saying. Hey, I believe in you, or you're my man, or yeah, you're working out, you're looking good. These little things. Oh, I like that cocoa butter, or I like that smell, or anything that's a compliment to what his efforts have been or what he's been trying to do. And maybe he hasn't moved the needle much. Maybe he's starting at 12 o'clock and he then moved it to 12:05, but you making it look like he then moved it all the way around. That means something and will move a man at a core level and actually promote loyalty and connection with you. But I wanted to go back also to what you were saying about women and speaking women's language. I think the thing guys think about, we used to call it Trump type game. And now Trump type gaming, your game was like the best game ever. I mean,
Like
you could,
Virgin Nappy.
yeah, you could just smack a woman right into the bedroom. Back in college, we used to say that.
Talk her panties right off. Yeah.
But I think talking a woman's panties right off is not about just, again, laying out your CV and peacocking. It's about being a better listener and being able to show her that you actually are listening to her and that her values, how she thinks, and who she is valuable to you and valuable to the conversation and valuable to the dynamic that you're establishing together. Even if that dynamic may be transient, you're meeting a woman on a bus, you're just talking to be talking and you keep it moving. Even in those exchanges where you're being honest, you're promoting dignity, creates an atmosphere of connection that is very hard to replicate if you're just peacocking or just verbal vomiting how good you are and what you've done and your accomplishments. They matter, but not in these exchanges. That's an assessment that happens a little bit later on. It could happen in the front end, but again, that's someone assessing you and looking at how you dress. If you're pulling out a credit card versus a debit card, that's what's happening. That's where the real assessment's happening. So there's nothing you could say that's going to be ultimately so alluring to that woman because she's using other data points to inform her about your status and what you're really moving with. So the listening is going to take you a lot further than you actually think it will, compared to what you may think you have to do, which is talk, and dominate the conversation.
Yeah, I would agree up to that other stuff doesn't matter. I mean, the listening is definitely going to matter
Mm-hmm.
because I think anyone is going to want to feel like what they have to say matters to you and they're not just talking and wasting their breath and their energy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But there's actually a connection happening because you're intrigued by what they have to say and vice versa. But yeah, I would agree up to that point. But I want to double down on this listening because part of what the title is giving people practical advice on how to master good communication. And we've talked about this in on our other platform,
Mm-hmm.
but active listening skills, you got to develop those.
Yeah, man.
So
Critical.
listening to understand and not just to respond. There's the reflective listening that we talked about, like repeating or summarizing what somebody said. And I think
Body
another one
language.
we had talked about body language. Yeah, and I
Yeah,
was going to
being
say
open.
asking open-ended questions
Yes.
just so it can encourage like a deeper conversation about something. Like you may have a outcome that you have in mind, a desired outcome, or some just like a pointed question that you're asking and you want a pointed answer, but asking it open ended and creating the space for more dialogue. So we know women love to talk. And to your point, not just to be talking and verbal vomiting,
Mhm.
but to hopefully be talking and saying some things, like I said earlier, that will be intriguing, that will make you ask follow-up questions, that will make you become more interested in what they have to say and who they are as a person and feel like, yo, I could actually spend more time talking with this person.
Absolutely.
And listen, the talking is going to lead to the talking with the foot massage. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna tell you, bro. That's like I remember homeboy from tonight's conversation cards, Trip Fontaine, and he had gave people his like go-to playbook for a whole day date.
Mm-hmm.
If you could get some conversation with a foot massage in, bro, like that's intimacy on another level.
Oh, absolutely. That was the whole conversation in Pulp Fiction when you said your man gave his wife a foot massage and he threw him through. He's like, you know that greenhouse stuff? He said, nigga fell through that. The nigga fell through that. He threw him through that. And then the whole argument between John Travolta's character and Samuel Jackson's character was really his breakout role, where he got famous. He got, I think, he got a Oscar nomination off of it, where it became like, wait, giving foot massages a foot massages. No, it's not.
No,
It's
yeah,
intimate.
no,
It's
yeah,
intimate. You don't just be giving foot massages. You ain't
yeah.
be touching my foot massage.
And yo, you would
I got my
think that
technique down and everything. I don't be tickling none of that shit.
a woman would just be down for that, but women ain't just down to let you touch their feet.
Some
Like I
people have
can't tell you
insecurities
how
and
many rejections I've got for something like that. And I'm thinking it's just like, yo, you know, to me it was something that was just kind of very chill and I thought would be organic, but they were just like, nah, I don't really want nobody to touch my feet like that.
yeah, for sure. And
Almost in a
sometimes,
way that we protect our heart sometimes when we're talking.
of
Like
course.
that vulnerability thing.
But do you want to say more about it? No, I don't want to say nothing else about it. I don't trust you. I said I gave you the factoid. I gave you the fact.
Right. You don't need no
Yeah.
perspective,
You don't
no
need no context, no feeling content, emotional content to go along with it. I told you what it was.
What it was.
Yeah, my
I had this
grandfather had to shoot
abuse.
somebody in front of
Yeah.
me, and that was the end of it.
Right.
Oh, well, how did that make you? No,
Nope. We're not doing that. Ain't no follow-up
no.
questions.
Yeah. You
This
don't.
is never have I ever.
Yeah,
I answer the
exactly.
question and we keep it moving.
Yeah,
Ain't no
exactly.
follow-ups.
Next, yeah, we definitely LeBron after he done lost at the table with the reporters. Next, do better.
Oh
Do better
my
next time.
gosh.
Do better.
Man.
You don't. I really do think that the listening part is key, and another part that I believe is key is being a helpful presence. So much when we talk about communication, because of I believe school and the way elementary schools are structured in North America, it's about raising your hand, getting the right answer. And really, in real life, to be successful, you have to have failure. Failure doesn't mean forever. It just means you didn't get it right this time and you have to keep calibrating and pivoting. And being a helpful presence just allows you to learn how to be there for that person. Because as you're learning somebody, you're not going to get it right the first time. You're learning about what works for them, what doesn't work for them. As you just said, sometimes people say things and they don't mean it because they're covering up for what they really do mean. And you have to get through some of that in the beginning. Anything that's too excessive and abusive, then you have to ask yourself if you're willing to stay in for that ride. But in the beginning, you have to give room for adjustments and understanding people's communication styles, because like you, people are afraid, they've been hurt, and they have responded by doing things they shouldn't be doing, becoming manipulative, trying to become the predator because I was the prey. And you have to ask yourself if this is the person in the right relationship or interaction where you're going to sustain that or swim through that to get to who the real person is, to get from the false self to the true self. But I think if you are willing to do that and it's not too laborious, this person isn't going crazy with trying to hit you with love bombs and serious manipulative schemes and plots, I think ultimately showing how you're going to be a helpful presence will be important to somebody. And it'd be important to your communication regimen, because then you're, hey, how are you doing? Do you need anything? Hey, I'm coming over tonight. Do you need anything? Do you get anything from the store? Hey, I know you're going on this trip. I thought about you and I got you this nice gift. Or, hey, I know you're going on this trip. I found this itinerary for some things you could check out when you get over to Costa Rica. I know you like, being around animals. There's a zoo there where they have some exotic animals. I think you'd really like it. Just being a helpful presence to somebody is part of the communication, because you have to talk and you have to listen and you have to dialogue. So it's not just, yep, okay, no problem.
Yeah, you're not
Absolutely
just
right.
answering
And
questions.
I heard what you said. Yes, absolutely. When you were 5, that happened. No, you're dialoguing and actually taking time to pull the car over and keep yourself engaged with them.
Yeah, I would say that's one of the things I see a lot on the apps is women being like, yo, if you can't hold a conversation, just swipe left, bro. Because all of
Sits up,
this,
SUP with a question mark.
UID or, SUP, like you said, like if you sending me those all day, how's your day all day? Like, that's not going to sustain me or make me want to stay and talk to you even more. But I would just say, like, to go back to something you said about the honesty thing, people got to learn to be comfortable with vulnerability. I know it's something that a lot of people want or say that they want, but sometimes when people are dropping bombs about what they've been through in life, it can get uncomfortable, especially early on. And it can, I think it can really challenge people to find out how much they really want to get to know somebody.
Yeah.
Like I have been in situations where, I like conversation, I like talking, but people have shared some things with me where I'm like, ooh, I kind of
Yeah,
don't
I've been there.
necessarily have the empathetic capacity to be there for you in the way that I would want to be.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that was a sign of like, yo, maybe you don't necessarily have the investment or desire to be invested in this person the way that they do. Because if
Mm-hmm.
they had the courage enough to be vulnerable and to share these things with you, they probably did it hoping that you would receive it and be able to reciprocate on the
Yes,
listening end.
absolutely. Because vulnerability is an important part of getting people to the next thing. And sometimes the next thing is the date, in this case of dating, or the next thing is meeting my family, meeting their family. And you have to be able to share vulnerability. You have to be able to ask a question that's real, that's resonant with them and who they are. And then from there, be able to share that story. I told you, I've used this example already in a couple of podcasts, and I'll keep going back to it. This whole idea of, what's your favorite childhood memory? And then when that person talks about it, or what's your favorite memory, and this person talks about their daughter's wedding, right? The respondent was talking about his sister who passed away. She got married in 2010, but she got married and then she died shortly thereafter. That's how he remembers her, always in her wedding looking beautiful. So you shared an intimate moment, and that vulnerability builds trust, and trust undergirds everything we do. You don't get on the train in New York City or the trolley in Amsterdam or in San Francisco and say, let me check the engineering plans of this train to make sure it was built correctly. Let me
No.
see the QA reports.
You sit yourself on that seat,
And you
trusting
go
that
on
it's gonna hold you
yeah,
up. Yeah. And that you're gonna get
those
to where you
steps and
going.
processes were managed
Yeah.
appropriately by the organizing or authoritarian authority that governs transportation properly. There's a lot of ways that we have what we call implicit trust. You buy a TV, you turn it on, you expect it to work. Use the remote, expect, new batteries, okay, new batteries, I'll put them in. Does it work? Okay, it works. And trust undergirds a lot, but it becomes even more important in dating. And so many people try to, as you said something that hit me. People say they want vulnerability. I think they want the outcomes that vulnerability produces. Because when people are vulnerable,
Mm-hmm.
pants come off and panties come down and certain body parts get wet and sticky and
See, I didn't even think about it that way. I thought
moaning
about it
and
just from the standpoint that you have access to them.
oh yes, that too. That
Yeah.
too. And then maybe someone let you borrow their car keys and you're behind on the rent and here's a little $200, two C notes there and 3C notes there. And that becomes part of, what I think people want, the outcomes of vulnerability. I don't
That's
know if they
good.
want to go through the trenches of vulnerability
Yeah.
to actually be connected to someone, because those outcomes should not just be the end all and be all. It should be the connection. If you can't have the connection with somebody, don't bother.
Yeah. And understanding that like, yo, every conversation is not gonna be easy.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said before, clarity is kindness. I mean, you would rather be clear about something than confused about it. It
Absolutely.
doesn't matter what stage of the process you're in of getting to know somebody. I think everybody appreciates clarity.
Yeah. And I think the reason why good communication is sexy is because we are in a very distracted, angry world. You mentioned this to me last week.
Very
It just
noisy.
seems, people are very hard to be hard. The hearts are not even hardened. Their hearts are stone. They're concrete right now.
Concrete.
The
Iron
same
Man.
concrete that has the Roman Colosseum standing over 2,000 years later is the same thing my heart is made out of.
Yeah.
That seaweed in that concrete. So when the concrete breaks, it actually heals itself. So you ain't got no chance of this heart melting anytime soon.
Got that adamantium
Yeah. Yeah.
heart.
And that becomes important because you have to really be wise about your time and how you're connecting with somebody. So when someone actually does find someone who is a student of good communication, and more importantly, a student of good communication with you or with that person,
Mm-hmm.
because there's good communication principles,
Right.
but you're going to learn as you interact with certain people to customize, flip, and
Taylor.
create your own communication to that person so you can better serve them and better listen to them and be a helpful presence to them. And that actually is what starts to melt the stone. That actually was what starts to tear down the concrete around the heart. And that's why it's more sexy, because no one's doing it. It's rare. It's super rare. And people as human beings value scarcity. That's why we say talk is cheap, because everyone talks.
Right.
Everyone talks
Yeah.
and says, "Oh yeah, I got houses over here, and I'm in Bombay, India, and then on Sunday I gotta go to Pakistan, and after Karachi, I'm headed over to Leeds."
But when it's
Anyone can
time
say
to
that,
act.
or are you on someone's actual jet doing those things and going those
Mm-hmm.
places?
Right.
And so, what communication does, it really shows someone that you're demonstrating in real time your connection and your desire to be connected to them and who they are. And people like to hear and feel good about themselves and feel seen and heard. And when you make someone feel seen and heard, that just opens doors of attraction that I cannot begin to describe to you and put it into words unless you've done it yourself.
Mm,
That's how powerful it is.
super powerful. I want to kind of approach this next point because we've been talking about some positive outcomes, but like let's talk about how to manage conflict when it arises
Sure.
in
Great point.
an effective communication way. I'm asking you, give me like how do you manage? I mean, I would say first of all, because I've had trouble with this, is taking a beat before you respond.
Hmm.
Because Lord knows when somebody says something that I'm just that gets on my nerves, yo, I always got one in the chambers, ready,
Wu-Tang banger. 30
locked and loaded. And the crazy part about it is a lot of people don't know the way that I communicate. You're never gonna know that it's offensive.
Mhm.
In my head, in my intention, I know it's offensive, but it's like I always got a one liner or a zinger ready for some kind of conflict that
Keep it in the
arises.
tuck. Keep it in the tuck.
Yeah. So like let's talk about how to manage conflict with maturity.
So the first thing I think with conflict and maturity is, you said right, take a beat. The other thing is ask questions to better understand their point of view. What I'm learning, especially learning in therapy right now, is how much judgment is a part of what we say and do about ourselves, and more importantly, what we say and do for other people.
Others, yeah.
And we don't think we're being judgmental. We think we're just making a statement. Oh yeah, so and so is like this because, and you fill in the blank. And I know I'm giving you workbook examples from like 5th grade, but I'm doing that on purpose because you could fit so many things in there. And I don't want to get into dramas or traumas right now of our own personal lives that we know about. But it's important that you ask questions. So for example, if you're talking to somebody and there was a misunderstanding about a date, you could start off by saying, and the person's, hey, look, you said we were going to go on a date. I made these plans. What happened? Or they may just be pissed. You say, oh my gosh, can you tell me when did we say this? How did this happen? I want to know, how can I make this up to you? Listen, I know you're going out with your friends. You may make a nice gesture if you want to. You know what? I realize I made a mistake. I apologize. And maybe you'll send them $25 for an Uber, or you'll send them something just
Mm-hmm.
as like, yo, this is on me. I apologize to you. Here's my first step in making this up to you. And those little first steps, I think, pay off dividends over time. Again, you may not feel it in the moment. The person may be hot-headed. I don't know how they process anger. Everyone processes anger differently. But I think asking questions to get to truly what they're upset about, because sometimes the date, it's not about you missing the date or there's miscommunication about the date. They may be dealing with feelings of rejection. They may have an issue, a hotspot with being rejected.
Mm.
Maybe they grew up in a home where promises were made and promises were rarely kept. Maybe they went through a situation in a marriage or a failed relationship where things were said and they were never backed up. And now they're stuck in a loop in their mind, even though they may not be in a loop, but in their mind, they're in a loop where now you're just another person on the IRT. We're just
Wow.
another girl on the IRT.
Yeah.
You're just another person who's coming into my life making promises and you're ready to break them. Why do I attract people like this? Why does this always happen to me? And they're going on their downward spiral. It's not your fault. And you can't resolve those feelings. That's their those are their feelings. But you can start by asking questions to resolve the incident so that you can show that you're trustworthy and that you mean well. And that's all you can do. You can't intervene in that downward spiral. There's a lot more that goes in that downward spiral that has nothing to do with you, but you can be a helpful presence in that moment by asking questions and not just responding.
Yeah. I mean, I
Seek to
think to what you're
understand.
talking about, you use the word resolve. I mean, I think it's approaching conflict or disagreement with a solutions mindset, not just to win. You
Yes,
know what I mean? Because I think a lot of times when there is a conflict, we feel like someone has to be winning, right? And then someone has to lose and someone has to pay.
yes, yes.
But
Punishment,
yeah,
punishment. Someone needs to be punished.
there's some kind of punitive reaction or
Yes,
response that's necessary for someone's misdoing or wrongdoing. And that's the thing is like disagreements or conflict is not necessarily someone's wrong. It's just y'all don't agree.
exactly. And it's going to happen because you're talking through text. You're not on the phone all the time. Sometimes you're in the phone. People are busy. They're running to the train. They're picking up groceries. And it's going to happen. It's not
Mm-hmm.
intentional. It's not a bad thing that it happened, but it's important that you talk it out. And it's important that you understand and locate yourself in that. Maybe you grew up in a household where they're triggered by the fact that there's a broken promise, but maybe you're triggered by the fact that,
That you got to talk it out.
or that you've been accused. You grew up in a house,
Mm-hmm.
you got accused of things.
Mm-hmm.
Something went off. Oh, who put the peanut butter like this? Who put the peanut butter like this? I want to know who put the peanut butter like this. And you're thinking to yourself as like
It's
a
just
9-year-old
peanut
kid,
butter.
Just peanut butter. But you don't have the strength of mind, the strength of body. You don't have the financial resolve to say, yo, you know what? I'm 10 years old. I got $10 million in the bank. I did Home Alone 16. I'm out, guys. And you hit the door and emancipate yourself from your parents and the court system. You don't have that. So you stay there another 8, 9 years, taking that until you can leave the house. And now you don't want to deal with anyone who just has a hair trigger about broken promises because you can't handle accusations. And that's how some of our demon dialogue starts with our partners, with other people that we're dating. Hey man, if you can't take an apology, then that's on you. That's on you. That's what you got to do. You got to get to your apology, and that's not going to get us anywhere.
Yeah,
It's
no,
okay to
not at
feel
all.
that, but if you really want to restore, you have to engage in, hey, listen, I'm giving you the best advice, and it's advice that I have to learn to take every day because I don't do this every day with my partner that well.
Or
I've been hurt.
with ourselves sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. I judge myself.
Get super critical,
Yeah,
get super negative. But yo,
absolutely.
talking things out, hashing things out can be really
Oh,
sexy.
absolutely. Absolutely.
To your point about the outcome, wanting the outcome or the feelings from the outcome, like, yo, I know a lot of people don't want to go through the process of hashing things out and resolving conflict. But yo, if you can, put your foot in the ground and just say, hey, like this is worth it. The outcome is worth it. Man,
They'll pay dividends in the long run.
the restoration is, oh my God, it's nothing like
Yeah.
it. That's why makeup sex could be so explosive.
Yeah. Because it's healing.
After
It's
we've
healing.
talked about it, and it's like we back to being on our square with each other, and we aligned again and coming together. Yeah,
Yeah.
be very sexy.
Yeah. And on that note, as we wrap up, good communication is sexy. I would just advise you and everybody, when you have time, take your time, get to know the person you're dealing with, get to know yourself, whether it's reading books, blogs, there's tons of content creators out there who are focusing on good communication. Spend some time with them. Trust me, you will never end up in a negative balance learning how to communicate better with yourself first and with others. All right. Until next time, save the date. I'm Heath.
Yo, I'm Jamie. Y'all, peace.
Take care.